And I'm back. I just want to go ahead and take a second and apologize for taking a minute to go ahead and upload a video. But here's the thing. Ugh, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Sometimes I don't want to upload a video if I don't really have anything to really talk about, and I don't want to just give you guys fluff content. So sometimes it'll be like that. Sometimes I'll be able to upload something every single week. Sometimes it might be 2 weeks. Regardless, thank you for watching my previous videos. And let's go ahead and talk about today's topic. The main topic of today is going to be the fact that the Pokemon Illustrator Pikachu from the Logan brothers, or yeah, if that's their last name, Logan Paul, regardless, nonetheless, got the card reslabbed. It didn't get regraded, it got reslabbed. And here's a quick video, if you guys haven't missed it, or if you guys have missed it or whatnot, about like Pokey. I'm just gonna go ahead and use this clip because he did take it down for whatever reason, and it just kind of it illustrates some points.
Brand new 2026 PSA slab, examined today, because you know why? I couldn't have the most coveted card in the world in any other holder except the most beautiful state-of-the-art holder. When this winning bidder gets it, I don't want them to think, "Ooh, I should get this reholdered." I did it for them. Everybody knows it's a PSA 10.
So if we go ahead and look at the video, there you go. You guys had it. He got the Pokemon Illustrator contest card reslabbed, not regraded, reslabbed, so the winner of the auction doesn't have to get a reslab. And here's the thing. I just want to go ahead and say and mention that I did talk about this. I didn't mention this prior, that this is going to be a canon event for the Pokemon collecting TCG hobby. It's going to be a canon event. The card was going to get sold. It's going to get sold, and it's going to go higher than what the original price that Logan Paul paid for it. It's going to go higher. It is. If it's not going to go higher, there was going to be no incentive for him to sell it, honestly. So it's going to go higher. He's going to get his money's worth, or his money's back, plus some. And it's beneficial for a lot of parties, but the one that's going to benefit the most out of this, it's going to be PSA. Because once again, PSA is going to have the highest, most valuable Pokemon card in existence behind a PSA slam. Now, why get it reslabbed rather than get it regraded while it's still being in auction? Even though in the video says that he slabbed it or reslabbed it without Logan's acknowledgement, I can guarantee you that is false. There's no reason why someone would try to get it reslabbed. They probably even talked about getting it reslabbed so they can avoid the buyer or the winner of the auctioning it getting it reslabbed or regraded. Because here's the thing. We already talked about it, that this card is going to get heavily scrutinized just because the wear and tear on the card already shows it's not a PSA 10. So getting it reslabbed avoids the issue of it getting it regraded. Because if someone is willing to buy the card, win it at auction for like 6 mil, 7 mil, getting it regraded for a couple $1,000s all over again is not a big issue. They got the money. It's FU money, essentially, right? Spending the card is probably going to go somewhere around 7 to 9 mil. That's where the card's probably going to go, right? So a couple $1,000s to get it regraded in a new, cleaner slam. It's FU money. Chump change. They can do it. Go ahead and do it. Expedite it. Whatever. But the thing that I noticed in the clip that he says, everyone knows it's a PSA 10. No, everyone believes it's a PSA 10, and you need to make sure that everyone keeps believing it's a PSA 10. So that way, as new people keep entering the hobby and they see that PSA is setting all record highs when it comes to graded slabs, it's beneficial for them to get it regraded, not through another company, but getting it reslabbed. So that way it stays as the most valuable, most exclusive card in the world when it comes to Pokemon. So PSA has everything to gain from this by not regrading it, but reslabbing it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate and say that during this thing, during the re-slabbing, if the images come out, which they'll probably come out, right? And people are going to be looking into it, is if the same edgeware is no longer detected, then we know the card was altered, right? If the card was altered, then it shouldn't be a PSA 10. There's a good possibility, since Pokemon cards are not serialized, right? There's a good possibility that whenever it got reslabbed, that card got replaced with another Pokemon Illustrator card that might be of a better quality than the one that's already inside the case, because the bag had significant damage, right? So if you can get a card that doesn't have the same amount of damage, less damage than the one that it's in the slab right now that's going in auction, right? And it's slightly a little bit off centered, well, that's okay, right? Because PSA is king of subjective grading, right? So with no AI, with no technology using to like hard document that card, there's a good possibility that card already got swapped with a better conditioning, maybe a little bit off centered Pokemon Illustrator like card. And like, wow, why would you do that? Because like a PSA 9 might still run you for like a couple $1,000,000, maybe a couple $100,000, but nonetheless, there's going to be more of an upside because the card is going to sell higher than that. The buyer's fee plus the final auctioning fee, everyone's going to win from this. Everyone from PSA, from the auctioning company, from Logan Paul, everyone wins, right? When it comes to money, everyone who put in money into this little experiment is going to come out with more money. So the card is probably going to be altered. It's probably already got swapped out. So what the card that's going to get auctioned off is probably not the same card that was originally in that case, right? If it has a certain number, then it's just a different card, but they just gave a random card a PSA 10 because everyone knew
For them, everybody knows it's a PSA 10.
it was a PSA 10. So if you don't have an issue with that, seriously, I'm not gonna come. Sorry, I'm not gonna like scold you because you're a grown ass. Like, I'm looking at my followers and my viewers. You're a grown ass man. You're grown ass men who are who can make their own decisions. But if you're seeing this and this is going to dictate vintage cards going down in the future, you guys are sheeps because you guys are seeing that PSA and content creators and influence are manipulating the market straight in your face, but you do not care and you rather still grade with PSA because it's more liquid. And I agree. PSA is extremely liquid just because there's a lot of money already into PSA slabs, right? Even there's a clip from Pokebeard, another prominent content creator that a lot of you guys probably watch for this, but he even mentions that he likes tag, but he doesn't see tag overtaking PSA just because there's a lot of old money or a lot of money already into PSA.
Do like tag, and I think they have a very good chance of like being very, very popular in the hobby. They do need to come out with their grading pods. We'll see if that's ever going to come out or if that's even possible. And I have seen a handful of 10s through tag that should not have gotten a 10. So it's not perfect. They definitely need to work on it. You know, it's new and it's technology, so it's never going to be perfect. But if they just keep improving, and keep working on stuff, and like I said, come up with those pods, which would be a game changer if you can get your card graded in a matter of minutes. I mean, that would be huge. And I think tag could definitely do work. It's just tough to take over PSA when you got to think there's collectors out there that have millions and millions and millions of dollars invested into PSA and PSA slabs.
So cracking some of these PSA 10 slabs, PSA 9 slabs, getting it graded through another AI base, getting it graded through another company, as objective as tag is, there is a good chance that those grades are artificial from PSA. So whenever they translate through tag, those grades are not going to stay, right? So what does that mean? Does that mean that tag is probably harder at grading? Absolutely, right? But since there's so much emphasis on tens rather than every other grade, there is absolutely no reason why a vintage collector would crack their slabs, grade them through tag, take that hit of a lower grade until tag itself starts becoming the number one grader.
So it's going to be tough for, a lot of people to, to swap over. And then you got to think, since tag is much tougher to grade, people want to get tens. So if you send a bunch of cards through tag and the grading is so tough to where you get a bunch of eights, nines, and don't get any tens, more people are going to want to send a PSA, which is one of the reasons why Beckett, was kind of niche. And
Right? Where eights and nines has substantial amount of more value than PSA 8 or 9. But it would take such a long time for that to happen, right? Because when it comes, you're leaving this as a moral question. Will people do that because it's morally right, knowing that this is the true grade rather than the subjective grade? Absolutely not. People will not do that if it's like the morally right thing to do, because people will follow money more than they will follow doing the right things. So people are going to be playing the game, right? You guys are going to continue grading through PSA because it is more liquid and easier to move when it's the inferior product. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. It's the inferior product. Nonetheless, and I do have other people kind of commenting on my video saying that they would rather grade with CGC than tag because CGC gives out easier tens. And it's also another thing that PokeBeard kind of makes a comment about it. He makes a comment about this. But one of the comments that kind of stood out, it was a little bit later, and this one's by King Dumas. King Dumas, he does mention, let me bring it up. People express what they want, accurate tens, and there comes a point where we should have accurate grades. Mentally, though, people want easier tens. If a company holds back a Jetman 10 by merely a couple points on a 1,000-point skill system, which is what tag does, they use a 1,000-point skill system, that leaves a sour taste in your mouth. It's just a fact. I've seen many times people first time grading with tag. And yeah, I absolutely agree. There's a couple cards in my collection that I've graded. They come back as nines whenever they were a couple points off from becoming tens. And it's not the best feeling, right? But nonetheless, whenever it comes to the English side, everyone understands that the English side, when it comes to Pokemon, have shit quality control. They have shit quality control. So a 9 card is still a good card. Some people might have it as a binder copy. Some people might have it still as a slab and be okay with their wabi sabi 9s. They're not perfect, but they're pretty close and you can live with that. Plus, it makes those cards extremely affordable and it's still essentially the same card. I would say it probably hurts even more when it comes to Japanese cards because Japanese cards have a prominent. They're easier to get tens, way easier, and there's nothing wrong with that. To me, I'd rather not struggle. Those are, my sense, easier tens. But if I want to collect, the Pokédex for my son or for my Pokemon collection, I'd rather have the Japanese tens, knowing that that card is pretty perfect. I think it's pretty cool having a big ass collection that you can have against your wall, right? Regardless if it's bad for the infrastructure of your house or your apartment. Who gives a it's your house, it's your cards, it's your life, right? You can do whatever you want. But people do chase that easier tens. And I admit it. I do, and that's why I like grading Japanese Pokemon cards cuz I like that easier 10. I do. I do. Now, he does mention this I guess I'm not really going to mention it. It's going to be there. F it, why not? I need that runtime for my videos. Tag has a quite long way to go before it can rise above PSA. Even if they can trump BGS and CGC first, I'll keep it short. But I'll grade with CGC personally. They provide relatively easy gem intents while also having pristines, which are actually hard to get, more affordable, and the turnarounds are better than PSA or even Tag. Now, in my last video, I did mention that Tag went ahead and lowered down their bulk submission price, but they increased their turnaround rate from 30 days to 45 days, which sucks, right? But if you're gonna take a little bit longer to give the people's cards back, you should lower down the rate. You should lower down the cost, right? Now, his argument saying that he rather grade with CGC because they can give out relatively easy PSA 10s, right? And they're more affordable. I would probably say that right now Tag is in that weird space where I think it's kind of valued more than CGC, and it's kind of matching the PSA 10 prizes. But there are some instances where those cards go significant cheaper than PSA, which gives mixed signals. Now, with time, if it is way harder to get 10s through Tag than PSA, it's going to be the same effect that people get whenever they're grading through BGS. Who the F is that? Regardless, yeah, Tag is going to become the next BGS in the fact that the pristine 10s are very hard to get. Out of their 1,000 point system, I believe you can only get 10 points deducted to get a pristine 10 and Tag. That's insanely hard, right? That's insanely hard. And I think that's extremely exactly what it has to be in order for a card to be a pristine level, right? Objectively, you can only get 10 points off the 1,000 point grade so you can get a pristine 10. Now, don't quote me on this. It might be 10, it might be 20, but it's still going to be hard. It's less than the 1%. 1% error on the card to get a pristine 10. The value on those cards are going to be significantly higher, right? And collectors are going to appreciate that. So, my advice, even if the turnaround rate is 45 days, 45 days for you guys to get your cards back. If you guys are in this hobby for collecting, and then I think you have every single reason why you guys should continue grading through Tag, right? It's an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle against PSA, but I'm seeing Tag move. In my local card shops, the Tag slabs that they sell are moving. They don't stay there for a day. Now, which is fantastic because as a bulk grader who wants to increase their collection like myself, some of the cards that I grade are strictly so I can resell them so I can continue grading. I'll 1000% admit to that. Even like my EVs, my swirl EVs that come in the Wabi Sabi 9, they're being sold off online, and that is okay. So it encourages me to keep grading through Tag, right? For my collection, it keeps grading through Tag, right? Um, Now, as time goes on, you will see that I never really saw any SGC slabs when it came to the Pokemon TCG and the card shows. But if you start seeing Tag slabs on people's desk, then you're kind of gonna start seeing that the general population sentiment is starting to change. People are very vocal that they like Tag. Now, we're still waiting for that those portable grading pools, not remote but like local grading for big cities. I'm hoping eventually they kind of start coming out in 2026, 2027. But in order for them to actually kind of release that technology or do that, I'm hoping they can do like a partnership, that which is something I would love to do. But nonetheless, I do see that being very beneficial, but for like card shops, especially card shops who want to support Tag. So keep an eye on that. Aside from that, my last video, like I said, I'm gonna be regrading PSAs and CGCs, 8.5s, 9s, all that kind of good stuff. I'm gonna be regrading through Tag. But if you guys want to see that, you guys gonna have to go to the other video and like that video. I want 25 likes on that video, and if I get 25 likes, I will go ahead and do it. And I'm not doing 10 cards. I'm doing probably like around 40 cards. I'm submitting 40 cards through Tag in the bulk grading. So I want to make it worthwhile. And for the most part, it's for information. We get to break them down. We get to look at the cards and see what Tag does with those cards. Like, and for the most part, they're mostly like Japanese, because I'm telling you, I feel like people don't really know how to subjectively grade Japanese cards, even those cards get better, they have better gem rate 10s. I think the graders don't want to give out 10s to those Japanese cards because they just don't want to believe that these cards are perfect nonstop. Nonetheless, like I said, like the video, please like and follow. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing. You guys are giving me like a nice little hobby to do on my off time. So please continue doing so. Please keep encouraging this. God knows I really appreciate it. Also, from that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys eventually next week. Maybe I don't freaking know. Laters.